A warm welcome to you here on TV News Hour, this hour on TV Sapiencia. The top stories today. We begin in Ogun State, where the state government on Tuesday yesterday reminded cattle owners and herders that the Animal Grazing Regulation and Cattle Ranch Establishment Bill 2020 signed into law by Governor Dapo Abiodun in 2021 is still in place, warning that violators risk severe consequences. Waves have hit nations across the Pacific after tsunami alerts were issued when a massive 8.8 magnitude quake struck off Russia's far eastern coast. And in sports, the transfer talks between Atalanta and Inter Milan for the sale of Nigerian forward Ademola Lookman are still deadlocked between both clubs as the Bergamo side insists on their €50 million asking price for the player after Inter Milan improved their offer to €40 million plus €5 million in add-ons. My name is Chioma Vic Chukwemeka. The news in full. We begin in Ogun State, where the state government on Tuesday reminded cattle owners and herders that the Animal Grazing Regulation and Cattle Ranch Establishment Bill 2020 signed into law by Governor Dapo Abiodun in 2021 is still in place. Warning that violators risk severe consequences, the government, in a statement by the special advisor to Governor Abiodun on information and strategy, Kayode Egbetokun, said that the warning became imperative against the backdrop of cases of obstruction of traffic by cattle herders engaging in open grazing across the state. The government decried the continued violation of the law by certain herders in the state, warning that the government would not hesitate to enforce the provisions of the law to the letter. Egbetokun said that the law banning open grazing and prescribing a 3-year jail term for violators was passed to address incessant bloody encounters between herders and farmers. He added that the state remained fully committed to modern cattle rearing and farming practices in order to guarantee the safety and security of the people in Ogun State. Away from that, the chairman of the House of Representatives Committee on Women Affairs and Social Development, Kafilat Obara, has called on all well-meaning Nigerians to support a bill seeking to create 182 additional legislative seats exclusively for women in Nigeria. Obara, who represents Kosofe Federal Constituency, Lagos State, made the call on Tuesday yesterday while briefing newsmen in Abuja. According to her, the poor representation of women in elective positions, despite their huge number, does not tell well for a country. Mouthing inclusive governance. The Lagos lawmaker noted that the proposed legislature is not merely a legislative effort, but a courageous effort aimed at building a more inclusive democracy. She added that the bill proposes 1 additional seat per state, including the Federal Capital Territory, to be reserved for women in both chambers of the National Assembly. It also recommends 3 additional reserved seats for women in each state House of Assembly. We are following up on the story and we will keep updating you. To security right now, the Inspector General of Police, Kayode Egbetokun, has raised concerns over the plight of retired officers under the Contributory Pension Scheme, saying that many live in humiliating conditions. He said hardship had instilled fear and anxiety among serving officers, weakening morale across the ranks. He said this during a meeting with some police officers in Abuja. On July 21, 2025, recall that retired police officers protested in Abuja, lamenting their poor treatment and humiliating pension payments. During the protest, they demanded to be removed from the Contributory Pension Scheme, which they claimed had been shortchanging them. Egbetokun, speaking in Abuja yesterday, said the living conditions of retired officers were unacceptable given the sacrifices that they made in service to the nation. Well, from that story, the chairman of the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, said that the agency seized 1.3 billion pills of Tramadol and 4.4 million bottles of Codeine between January 2024 and June 2025. Marwa made the disclosure during a plenary session at the 2-day interactive session on government citizens engagement on Tuesday in Kaduna. That will be yesterday. He credited the remarkable achievements to the support given to the agency by President Bola Tinubu. According to Marwa, since Tinubu came into office in 2023, The agency has made seizures of 5,555 tons of illicit drugs equivalent to 200 trailers. On counseling and rehabilitation, the NDLEA boss explained that President Tinubu had approved the building of 7 rehabilitation centers for the agency. He added that the agency had 30 of such centers in existence, but with the current addition of 7, it now has a total of 37 rehabilitation centers in Nigeria. We'll take a break right now, and when we return, we move to education, where the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, says that the federal government is committed to ending the era of strikes in Nigeria's tertiary institutions. Interestingly, these and other stories come your way after this time out. Stay with us. Glad to have you back here on the news. Moving things along in education, the Minister of Education, Dr. Tunji Alausa, says the federal government is committed to ending the era of strikes in Nigeria's tertiary institutions, promising improved engagement and fulfillment of agreement with academic unions. Alausa gave the assurance during an interview with newsmen yesterday, Tuesday, saying that President Bola Tinubu had issued a firm directive to prevent further disruptions in tertiary education. He emphasized the need for better relations with unions and for government to demonstrate sincerity. Addressing concerns about salary delays raised by some lecturers, Alausa clarified that the government had not stopped paying wages. We are following up on this story and we'll keep updating you. In Anambra State, health experts and stakeholders in the health sector, including residents and civil societies, have raised the alarm over the sale and conversion of public and government-owned cemeteries to residential homes in some parts of Anambra State. The cemetery in Orifite Street, Awada, Obosi in Idemili North Local Government Area, and New Cemetery Road in Odapo in Onitsha North Local Government Area of the state have been sold out to different individuals. Findings revealed that several petitions to the State Urban Development Board, including the State Ministries of Health and Environment, have yielded no result, as this has continued to pose environmental and health risk to unsuspecting residents. Checks in Anambra State indicated that these large portion of lands used for cemetery purposes several decades back have been converted to residential buildings without proper reburial of the human remains, thereby posing a potential health and environmental implications to the already densely populated areas. Some of the concerned stakeholders in the state, such as health experts, civil society groups, including Campaign for Democracy and Human Rights, Liberty Access and Peace Defenders Foundation, are all worried that if this trend continues, it might lead to epidemic, and there is a need for the authorities concerned to heed to the call for its sanity. Away from that story, we move to Ekulobia, where the St. Joseph Catholic Cathedral in Ekulobia stood still on Sunday, July 20, 2025, as Valentine Ozigbo marked his 55th birthday in a ceremony defined by reverence, grace, and gratitude. The milestone celebration began with a solemn Thanksgiving Mass officiated by His Eminence Peter Ebere Cardinal Okbaleke, the Catholic Bishop of Ekulobia Diocese, supported by Most Reverend Dr. Jonas Benson Okoye, the Catholic Bishop of Nnewi Diocese, with many other priests and religious in attendance. Friends, family, community leaders, and political associates gathered under the Sacred Dome to honor a man whose journey has inspired many across the nation. Valentine Ozigbo, who rose to the top of corporate Nigeria as the president and corporate CEO of Transcorp PLC before resigning in 2020 to dedicate himself to public service, thanked God for guiding him through every chapter of his life, through success and loss, applause and criticisms, clarity and uncertainty. Valentine Ozigbo, a multiple award-winning global CEO, honored his wife, his late father, Chief Andrew Ozigbo, and his late brother, Engineer Collins Ozigbo, describing their lives as a source of enduring light in his journey. He also expressed deep gratitude and affection for his mother, Ezine Christiana Ozigbo, whose counsel, prayers, and faith, he said, remain his moral compass. Away from that story, we move away from Nigeria right now, and we hear that waves have hit nations across the Pacific after tsunami alerts were issued when a massive 8.8 magnitude quake struck off Russia's far eastern coast. This quake is tied for the sixth strongest ever recorded. Now, US shores, including Hawaii, California, Oregon, Washington, and Alaska, have been hit by waves. The tsunami's first waves hit Russia and Japan, where nearly 2 million people have been evacuated. The tsunami warning for the state of Hawaii has been downgraded to an advisory. Honolulu's mayor had told people to move to a higher ground, and Hawaii's governor urged people to immediately evacuate coastal zones. We are following up on this story and we'll keep updating you. Finally, in sports, the transfer talks between Atalanta and Inter Milan for the sale of Nigerian forward Ademola Lookman are still deadlocked between both clubs, as the Bergamo side insists on their €50 million asking price for the player after Inter Milan improved their offer to €40 million plus €5 million in add-ons. Inter's opening proposal for the forward had been rejected at €40 million, and it was hoped that Tuesday's meeting with the officials, that's between the clubs, would lead to significant developments. According to Football Italia, Inter offered €40 million plus €5 million in add-ons for Lookman, but Atlanta are still holding out for €50 million. Well, that story, we wrap it up. On the news, a quick reminder of our top stories. From Ogun State, we did tell you that yesterday, Tuesday, the state government reminded cattle owners and herders that the Animal Grazing Regulation and Cattle Ranch Establishment Bill 2020, signed into law by Governor Dapo Abiodun in 2021, is still in place, warning that violators risk severe consequences. Waves have hit nations across the Pacific after tsunami alerts were issued when a massive 8.8 magnitude quake struck off Russia's far eastern coast. And finally, in sports, the transfer talks between Atalanta and Inter Milan for the sale of Nigerian forward Ademola Lookman are still deadlocked between both clubs, as the Bergamo side insists on their €50 million asking price for the player after Inter Milan improved their offer to €40 million plus €5 million in add-ons. Well, that's it on the news this afternoon. Many thanks for joining us here on TV News and TV Sapienza. My name is Chioma Victor Omega. Thanks for watching. Do have a great midweek ahead of you. Stay with us.